Good morning, welcome to day 40. Signs and speech. Paul is heading on his way to Rome and he's been doing speeches before different people. He's now in lockdown. He's locked up and he's coming before yet another judge and a governor. He's brought before the Roman governor called Felix. But as Felix listens to the case presented to him about Paul, the Sanhedrin come with their lawyer and they give their evidence, or they present their case, their accusations against Paul. And Paul gives a defence. So this morning we're looking at chapter 24 of Acts. And I just want to all I really want to point out is this morning, the accusations and then Paul's defence before the governor Felix, the Roman governor Felix. Notice, in chapter 24, the accusation that's brought before the governor relies on flattery and then half-truths. There's some truth to them, but half-truths. Just listen. Tertullius, this is the lawyer for the Sanhedrin, began to accuse Paul and says, this is how he begins his accusations. We enjoy great peace because of you, Governor Felix, and reforms are taking place for the benefit of this nation because of your foresight. We acknowledge this in every way, most excellent Felix, with utmost gratitude. Now, let us accuse Paul. We tell you, we have found this man to be, 1, a plague and an agitator amongst all the Jews throughout the Roman world. He's a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes, 2. And he even tries to desecrate the temple, 3. By examining him yourself, you'll be able to discern the truth about these charges we bring against him. Paul, notice here, the accusation is brought and there's all this flattery and stuff about the judge straight up the top. And then there's 3 things. He's an agitator, he belongs to the sect of the Nazarenes, and he's a temple desecrator. Paul, in his defence, says this. Nothing about the judge. He simply says at the start of his defence, I know you've been a judge for many years, and you can verify for yourself exactly what I've done. He doesn't talk about give flattery or anything to Felix. He just says you've been a judge. I call on justice. You can look at this case yourself and you'll see whether there's truth behind it or not. Paul claims to be on the side of truth, but he doesn't actually use flattery, and you can tell that he's doing the right thing. And in defence of these 3 things that have been brought, he's an agitator, he's a sect of the Nazarenes, and he's desecrated the temple. He simply says, I'm not an agitator. In fact, these guys tried to lynch me when I talked about the hope of the resurrection. He says, yes, I'm part of the Nazarenes. Yes, I'm a Christian and I follow the way. But that's simply the culmination of all the hopes of the Jewish people. It's nothing new. And then thirdly, he says, I didn't desecrate the temple. I simply brought some people in there to pay tribute to God and to go through the purification rites. Paul basically says, I'm on the side of truth. And this is so common in cases of justice and law. You have one side that uses other ways to smear and to bring accusations and half-truths. And you have the other side that says, you can investigate the truth. I want the truth to come out because I'm true. I'm just reading this morning a particular law case, very popular one. And on the one side, there's a lot of smearing and accusation. On the other side, there's just someone who says, I want people to know the truth. Paul here speaks about the hope of the resurrection. Amidst all of this, he says to Felix, I speak about the hope of the resurrection, and I want people to know that. And Felix says, I'd love to hear more about that. Felix will come to a conclusion that isn't very good, but Paul will end up going to Caesar, and we'll see that tomorrow. Paul will end up eventually in Rome. Felix is not persuaded one way or other about the hope of the resurrection, but Paul, amidst all of these false accusations, keeps his eye on what he's supposed to be doing, speaking about the hope of Jesus, and even amongst this, he defends himself and says, you can check out the truth, but I follow Jesus. What an example of someone who speaks about Jesus, the good through the good and the bad, and someone who loves God and speaks about the hope of the resurrection, which all of those who follow Jesus are headed toward. That's it for today. See you tomorrow.